Good evening, friends. Welcome to this free live session exclusively hosted by TalentSprint. And having the IBPS PO and clerk exams fast approaching, though it seems like, you have a couple of more months, but before you know it, you'll be taking those exams. So we've, of course, started preparation for that, and hopefully you have started preparation from your end as well. So trying to make things easy for you for your preparation, I have come up with this specific topic, which is jumbled sentences, right? So today's session, we're going to look at what is the main strategy, if there is a strategy, then what that strategy is, and what are the other things that we need to look for, right? We're going to look at both components, which is sentence jumbles as well as the paragraph jumbles. Yeah, so let's quickly acknowledge those who've come here waiting for the session to start. I have Manikandan, Pranavi, and I'm sure you're taking advantage of these free sessions that TalentSprint is hosting on a regular basis, right? By now, I'm sure you know most of the shortcut methods or concepts or strategies to approach specific question types, whether it's quantitative aptitude, reasoning ability, or verbal ability. Like I always say, right, just to make things easier for you and ensure that you are able to clear the first round, which is the prelims exam, right? We need to make sure you clear that, you qualify for the main exams and move forward. So we from TalentSprint, want to make sure that you're able to successfully clear each round and qualify for your final round and finally get the job that you are aspiring to get, right? So there are various offers that we have in line with that. All you need to do is log on to www.talentsprint.com/bank, right? Coming back to today's session, what we're gonna see is we're gonna quickly take a look at what are those strategies. I want you to kind of register that. So when we look at a couple of example questions, we're going to apply those strategies, right? We're going to see it's not enough if we are aware of what is the strategy or what is the approach. We need to apply it, right? The second part is even more important. Knowing is not enough. You need to apply what you know, what you've learned. Most of us have a problem with that, especially when it comes to finding error question types, right? We may be aware of, okay, these are the grammar rules. These are some of, the basic construction when it comes to a sentence. How do I, what are the collocations that come? When I say collocations, I'm talking about grouping of words, right? This preposition gets associated with this word. We may be aware of that, but when we actually attempt the question, we're still finding it a little challenging to arrive at the answer, right? So what we're going to do in today's session is understand what the strategies are and quickly apply it. So when you practice after this session, right, you continue applying those strategies. So let's get started. Let me share the presentation. So one of the foremost or the main strategy, right, that you need to keep in mind is we're going to hunt for clues in the context, which will give us specific meaning. That's going to help us connect either parts or sentences, parts to form a complete sentence or sentences to form a complete and meaningful paragraph. Now, what do I mean by that? What we're trying to say here is there has to be two sentences that have to go together. So what do I need to do, or what do I need to look for to connect those two parts or to connect those two sentences, right? Now, a couple of things that I've listed down. Let's quickly look at them. A, be familiar with idioms and phrases, idiomatic expressions, right? Phrases that have been used repeatedly in various situations, which is otherwise grouping of words, right? The second one, we're also going to need to pay attention to punctuation marks. That's actually going to help us connect parts or sentences. The third one is we're going to focus on keywords from the given context and we're going to ask questions. Right? Very important for logically connecting parts of a sentence or sentences to form a paragraph. The fourth thing is, of course, we need to have some knowledge, some basic knowledge on grammar, constructions and rules, right? It could be article usage, it could be preposition usage, phrasal verbs, etc. The fifth thing, we're going to pay attention to connecting hint words, right? And what meaning they bring to the context. So when I say connecting hint words, we're talking about synonym hint words and or antonym hint words, though, although, however, but, right? Cause and effect hint words, because, since, as. So we're going to pay attention to those hint words and see what meaning they bring in the context. And the last one, right, knowledge on vocabulary can be useful. So just understanding the meaning of words, right? If you have expanded knowledge, as soon as you come across a new and unfamiliar word, you already know what the word means, right? Or actually look at clues in the context and figure out the meaning of that word, right? Either ways, good knowledge on vocabulary is going to be useful for you. It could be a phrase, it could be a word. So I want you to register all of these strategies that we just looked at, which we're going to apply in the coming example questions that we're going to look at, right? So I'm going to give you another 30 seconds. Quickly make sure you get all this, you understand what this is. Any questions on these pointers that I've put down? So basically, these 6 pointers that I've laid out is actually a subset of the main strategy, right? Right? How am I going to ensure that, how do I make sure that these two sentences have to go together? By applying all of these, right? We might apply 2 or more of these for one question. And let's see you apply these strategies. So I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to a minute for each question, right? We're going to come back. You're going to give me the sequence and then we will brainstorm. So let's look at our first one. This, obviously, when you look at it, it's a sentence that is divided into parts, right? And we're going to connect. So let's read the directions. I'm sure you are familiar with this. In the following, the first and the last parts of the sentence are numbered 1 and 6. The rest of the sentence is split into 4 parts named P, Q, R, and S. These 4 parts are not given in their proper order. Read the parts, arrange them properly, and find out which of the 4 or 5 combinations given below is appropriate and mark it as your answer, right? So the first part we have is the latest move, and then I have PQRS, and then I have some political parties, right? And I have 5 options given. So remember the strategies that we just took a look at, right? So anything that is standing out for you from the given options, P says woman is being opposed, Q says to reserve 1/3 of, R says tooth and nail by, S says the electoral seats for, and then we'll have to figure out what the answer is, right? So a couple of you have come back with the option. Now let's go back to the question. Yeah, so let's look at it. The idea is to understand, Shubhendu, how to apply the strategies, right? So the latest move, can anybody identify some expression? Are you able to identify any expression from the parts PQRS? Phrases. There is a phrase, idiomatic phrase, right? So one of the strategies that we spoke about, saying there could be an idiomatic phrase that's going to help me connect these sentences. So if you look at R, it says tooth and nail, right? Tooth and nail. What does that mean? Tooth and nail by. What does that expression mean, right? So this particular expression, tooth and nail, means you're using a lot of effort to either oppose someone or because you want to achieve something, right? So let me give you an example sentence. If I say, we fought tooth and nail to keep our share of the business, right? So in this example sentence, what do you understand by that? You're saying somehow, right? Somehow with a lot of effort, I'm trying to keep my business. I'm trying to keep my share of the business. So the latest move to do what? Again, you're asking questions, right? The latest move to do what? To reserve. So the first thing that you would do is, another strategy that you can follow is identify the subject, identify the action, and then connect and create the sentence. So the latest move to reserve 1/3 of who? Women is being opposed. How is it opposed? Tooth and nail by some political parties. And then you have the electoral seats. So the latest move to reserve 1/3 of the electoral seats for women, for whom? For women, is being opposed by whom? And how is it being opposed? Tooth and nail. So this expression tooth and nail, you can directly link it to P, which means R has to follow P. And then I look at the options and see which option gives me that R following P. I have option 2 and I have 4 and 5. Right? But otherwise also, in terms of logical sequence and connect, when you ask questions, the latest move to do what? To reserve 1/3 of what? The electoral seats for whom? Women, is being opposed. How is it opposed? Tooth and nail by some political parties. So what you've basically done is you've focused on the idiom tooth and nail, understanding that P has to follow R, right? And who's opposing it? Somebody has to oppose it. The party mentioned is some political parties in 6. So which means R has to be the last before I connect it with the closing part of the sentence, right? So that way you arrive at the option. So those of you who said other than option 2, see what we've done. For some of you, we also need to be patient and sensitive that not everybody, is at the same level of our understanding, right? So we need to kind of keep that in mind, and we're all learning together here. So for those of you who were not able to get this question right, basically what we've done is we've applied a little bit of understanding on idiomatic expressions. We've identified that in the context, right? And then we've looked at and we've asked questions, identifying all the keywords. What's the subject? We've asked questions. The latest move to do what? Action, to reserve 1/3 of. What? The electoral seats. Noun. For whom? Women. Is being opposed by whom? Political parties, right? So the answer is 2. So here we've applied idioms as well as we've asked questions focusing on keywords, right? Let's look at the next one. So most of you got it right. The rest of you who said other than option 2, now you know what to look for. Let's look at the next one. One of the most pernicious, and then I have PQRS, and then I have exploitation and oppression. So another tip for you to do is, by applying the strategies, you also tend to save time, right? Quickly. So I'm going to ask you guys, what's the one clue in this question which will help you save time without even having to go through everything? This is one of the strategies that I'd mentioned when we first begin. I'm going to see who's going to be able to identify that. Q has a comma, right? Of the system of caste hierarchy. When you have a comma, you can expect a list of series, right? And then it has to end with and then another word to complete the thought, right? So which means what has to get linked with Q? The last one, right? Caste hierarchy, of the system of caste hierarchy, exploitation and oppression. That's it. You only paid attention to, you may not be familiar with these words, pernicious, reactionary. You may not be familiar with these words. It still doesn't matter. Yes, vocabulary, knowledge on vocabulary can be useful. However, look at this. So now let's link it, right? So you've paid attention to the comma here, and there's a list of series, right? Now let's look at it. So the only option that is closing with Q is what? Option 5. RSPQ. See, usually in these questions, right, we need to kind of focus on commas, especially sentence fragments. Paragraphs also will have punctuation marks, right? But at the same time, we can also focus on other things. One of the most pernicious and reactionary feudal survivals. So maybe you can look at the meaning of pernicious and reactionary. Why? Because I have this synonym hint word and, right? For all I know, if you look it up, I haven't, maybe you can look it up and let me know. Pernicious and reactionary, right? There could be some sort of a synonym meaning there between those two words because I have and as a linking, connecting word. One of the most pernicious and reactionary feudal survivals, sanctified by some ancient scriptures, is that of the system of caste hierarchy, exploitation, and oppression, right? The next one, the chances of electoral success, and then of course PQRS. What technique are we going to apply here? The chances of electoral success, and then I have P for liberals would certainly improve under the banner of a liberal party with its if they could fight own electoral symbol. Answer is option 3. Okay, so let's identify the subject here, right? Like one of the other strategies, especially when it comes to sentence connectors, is to, let me write that down, right? You identify the subject. We've applied this before as well. Identify the subject, identify the action, and then you connect and create the remaining sentence. So the chances of electoral success for whom? I'm asking questions. One of our strategies, right? So the chances of electoral success for whom? P, right? For liberals would certainly improve. So the chances of electoral success for liberals would certainly improve. That's right. Our subject here is liberals, correct? So we've identified that. We know that after the first part of the sentence, I have to connect it to P. Just answering the question for whom. Identifying the subject, right? How do I identify the subject? I just ask the question. Who, what? So the chances of electoral success for liberals would certainly improve. Again, I ask a question. How? How will it improve? If they could fight. Under what? Or how? Again, right? If they could fight. How? Under the banner of a liberal party with its own electoral symbol. Here again, we're only asking questions. We're focusing on keywords. So we've identified the subject. Improve. That's our action word, right? How will it improve? If they could fight. Again, how? Under the banner of, the only part that is left is R, a liberal party with its own electoral symbol, right? Anshu, I'm glad that you're getting it. So the idea is we are applying more than one or two strategies that we've looked at in the beginning, right? All we're doing is, in this particular question especially, what we've done is we've identified the subject, we are focusing on keywords, and we're asking relevant questions. Always when you ask questions, right? And yes, Bina, you're absolutely right. The best part about these options is you don't even have to waste time unraveling the entire sequence. When you address the first part, you've identified the subject, and you know absolutely P has to follow the first part. You look at your options. The only option that starts with that is 3. So you can move on in just about a couple of seconds. You're done, move to the next question, right? And with its own, that's a grouping of words, that's collocation. We've heard people use this phrase with other words connecting in various contexts, right? The author has pointed an, this is an easy one. You know, if all of you don't get it right, this is one of the most easiest ones, and everybody, at least the previous questions, we had differing opinions, right? But this one, you have to get it right. And quickly, if anybody can point out, what's the clue, right? The hint is, if I'm not aware what to look for, I might miss out. So I have the indefinite article and there. The only option that I can connect that link with is accusing. And look at my options. What's the one that is giving me that option? 1. QSPR. This is an easy one, right? The author has pointed out or pointed an accusing finger at the and then the whole sequence, just to make sure that this is the sequence, right? If the sequence is right, just read through. The author has pointed an accusing finger at the Muslim intelligentsia and the dominant members of the community who maintain a stoic silence over the bizarre happenings in Kashmir. Let's look at the next one. Greed is regarded as, and then I have all the options: possible, ruinous, and because it has destructive effects, immoral behavior on other people. So quickly, what is the clue here? I don't think any one of you are going to be able to identify the clue. Now, if you look at ruinous, right, and then you have a synonym hint word, like I said, and, right? What's ruinous is an adjective. It comes from the word ruin, which means what? Destruction, which means P and R have to go together. Which are the options that give me that? A and B. So let's look at it. Greed is regarded as, A starts with possible, ruinous, and, or should we go with B? Greed is regarded as immoral behavior, right? Greed is regarded as what? Immoral behavior. Why? Because it has possible, ruinous, and. So basically what we've done here is if you know the meaning of ruinous, you know that, and if you've paid attention to the synonym hint word, and you know R has to follow P, right? R has to follow P. The first option, though it does, logically it doesn't answer our question, right? So greed is regarded as what, like Bluffmaster very loudly pointed out? Immoral behavior. Why? Answering the question again, another connector, right? Why? Because. So there is a cause and there is a reason why this is so, right? What have we done here? Focused on clue words, which is the adjective ruinous, understanding its meaning, paying attention to the hint word, and we know that P has to follow R. We look at the options, eliminate the wrong answer option, because we are also applying the strategy of asking relevant questions to form a logical sequence. So the only sequence that gives me that is B, SQPR. That's it. Let's move on. Miffled over the issue, and then I have PQRS, through his blog. Of not being given, Chetan Bhagat continues to spew anger, due credit for the film 3 Idiots. So what's it going to be? What's the sequence? Augustine says D. Yeah, so it's between A or D. I hope you understand the meaning of the word miffled. What's the meaning of miffled? You're offended, right? You're annoyed because something is not going the way you want it to. So miffled over the issue, okay. So what was the issue? Right, I'm asking questions again. So I understand the meaning that this word brings in the context, right? Miffled, which means I'm either offended or annoyed that something is not going the way I want it to. So the issue is of not being given due credit for the film 3 Idiots. That's the issue. This person who, Chetan Bhagat, did not receive due credit for this film 3 Idiots. So look at the last part. The last part is through this blog. Chetan Bhagat continues to spew anger. So another hint word for you is this person is continuing to vent out his anger, right? To spew anger means what? He's venting. And what medium is he using? What is the medium that he is using to do this? What is the medium Chetan is using to vent, right? Vent means whine, complain, spew, which means through his blog, which means, so basically what I've done, yes, A also seems logical, right? The only thing that we need to do is to differentiate between A and D is to address and ask the relevant questions, right? Miffled over the issue. There, for me, the clue word is the issue. So what is the issue about? The issue is not Chetan Bhagat continuing to spew anger through his blog. The issue is he's not being given due credit for the film 3 Idiots. And because of which, what is he doing? He's continuing to spew anger through the medium of the blog, right? So the answer is PSQR. R and the last part have to go together, because what is the medium that he's using to spew his anger? And I already have a medium which is mentioned here, which is blog, right? So I know that this has to go together. So I'm looking at what are all the things that I'm applying, not just in this, right? Not just in this, but all of the other previous questions that we saw, right? We said, I'm going to focus on keywords. I'm going to ask questions. Yeah, it helps to know the meaning of certain vocabulary words like miffled and pernicious and ruinous, or other words, depending on the question, right? I said I'm going to pay attention to punctuation marks. That's also going to help me connect paths. I'm going to ask questions, right? Now, the very favorite part where everybody said, you know, this is the pattern which is pretty easy, but some of them even find this challenging, right? So we've addressed that part. Now let's go to the pattern that you've all been waiting for. I reasoned with him, and then I have, but could not disabuse him that the lawyer for an hour of the notion who had his case in hand was incompetent. There is an expression here. Another 10 seconds I'm going to give. I'm going to see who's going to identify the expression here. When I say expression, I'm talking about grouping of words, right? What's disabuse? Okay, bluff master, good. Reasoned, you're reasoning with someone and the duration is there. But you can also say I reasoned with him but could not disabuse him, right? It doesn't necessarily have to follow the duration. In this context, yes, a duration is mentioned. The expression is actually disabuse him or her or anybody of the notion. Now, what does this mean? Maybe you're not even familiar with this expression, right? So when you say you're disabusing someone, you're saying you are actually persuading someone that this particular idea is mistaken. Yeah? Dhruv says free from misconception. Yes. So just to give you a context, I can say disabuse your mind of the feeling that you will stand in my way, right? So basically in this context, what you're saying is, just to give you a meaning, right? You're saying, hey, if you are under the impression that just because you're in my way, or if you have a feeling that, you know, you're in my way, you're standing as an obstacle, you're not going to let me move forward or go forward, you can just get rid of that. Nothing of that sort is going to happen, right? So disabuse your mind of the feeling that you will stand in my way. So you're in this context here, we're talking about you're persuading someone that this particular idea is not going to work. You're mistaken. This will not be productive. And what is the meaning of notion? Notion means either an opinion or a belief that somebody holds. So this is actually an expression, and you know, P has to follow S, keeping in mind that expression. Again, you're not familiar with that expression. You've applied other collocations like reasoning for the duration, for a particular duration. I reasoned with him for an hour. Either ways, it's fine. But this is also another way, right? Being familiar with expression. So I reasoned with him for an hour, right? P following S, option C. You have A as well, but unfortunately it doesn't logically fit. I reasoned with him that the lawyer for an hour doesn't make sense, A. So the only option is C. I reasoned with him for how long? For an hour, but could not disabuse him of the notion that the lawyer who had his case in hand was incompetent. Okay, great. Let's move on. Here we have 6 sentences, right? So far we looked at sentence connects, right? Parts of a sentence that need to be joined and clubbed and connected. Bluffman is like, this is the real one. This is the real deal. So let's see you unravel this. A, B, C, D, E, F. Yeah? So let's take a look at it. Slightly on the higher end, right? You already are familiar with strategies, right? Those of you who are either part of us or otherwise who've been practicing jumbled sentences, you know what you need to do. And trust me, we're going to apply most of the strategies that we looked at for sentences in the paragraph as well, right? We're going to do the same thing. We're going to spot clue words, keywords. We're going to ask questions, right? We're going to apply logic and figure out certain things, vocabulary, can also help us connect sentences. So A, B, C, D, E, F. So in a paragraph, I'm sure you're aware that, the first line has to give me an introduction or give me a pretext of what the paragraph is going to be about. So what is the topic sentence? What is my introductory sentence giving me that option? And like Bluffmaster is doing, what another strategy that you can do, which is our main strategy, right? Two parts have to go together. These two sentences have to be linked, boss. How do I do that? I'm going to apply all of the other subset strategies that I saw. So Bluffmaster says B has to follow D. Why is that? B has to follow D, right? So here we're only going to look at how is it unraveling? What is it that we're looking for? So A also seems like a topic sentence, right? Global investors are quaking over the prospect of a devastating slump in the world's second biggest economy. China is exporting something new to the world, economy fear. These are the two things, right? So we'll say, hey, we already know that B has to follow D. So what's our question, bud? What's the topic sentence? Is it E or A? Now, A is talking about something negative, right? Global investors are quaking over the prospect of a devastating slump in the world's second biggest economy, right? It's talking about, so where's the pretext for that? The pretext is China is exporting something new to the world economy. What is it exporting? Fear, right? It's exporting fear. What is the fear? The fear is that the global investors are quaking over the prospect of a devastating slump in the world's second biggest economy. The world's second biggest economy is China, right? So making reference to China, what China had said. So what is the fear that everybody is going through, right? So what is that fear? It's answered in A. Making reference, the world's biggest economy is China, right? Making reference to that. And then what are we? We already said that, hey, B is answering D, so we're leaving that aside. I have to choose between C and F. And then C says, and they are fast losing confidence. So who is they referring to? The global investors, right? This is the fear that they have. And they are fast losing confidence that China's policymakers, seemingly so surefooted in the past, know how to solve the problem. So I know C has to follow A because of the clue they are, which is referring to investors, right? And I'm only left with F. It says, apart from the shrinking confidence, that's another clue word for you, right? Shrinking confidence, because C already says fast losing confidence, right? One of the other strategies when it comes to paragraphs is, what are we doing? Confidence, confidence, repeated, right? So let me quickly make a shift here. So EAC, F has to follow C. It's making reference to in the question, there is a clue word. In D, there is a clue word. No, Ravi, not the topic sentence. I'm talking about the last two sequences. I'm talking about only D and B. Is there any other clue word in sentence D which is linking to B? Domino effect. That's your clue. Prabhyot, correct. Domino effect. What's the meaning of domino effect? A domino effect is nothing but a chain reaction, right? It's a chain reaction where you're saying, the cumulative effect produced, it's actually one event setting off a chain of similar events. So that is explained in, right? So F, apart from, B following D, in fact, I'm talking about the entire sequence, FDB, right? Somebody might come and ask, why can't it be the other way around? This is a chain reaction, and the chain reaction is already explained here. However, such a domino effect, the domino effect is explained very clearly in F. What is the domino effect? It says, apart from the shrinking confidence, the biggest fear is that a collapsing Chinese economy would derail others around the world. So because of China going down the hill, others like Indonesia, and then the power, United States, could also get affected. And then again, like most of you pointed out, why the hysteria? Possible answer is, so the sequence is EAC, FTB. But the idea is for us to know how to approach these sort of questions, right? Depending on whether how difficult it is or how easy it is. You can't expect always the easy ones. If it's too easy, you say it's too easy. If it's too difficult, you say it's too difficult. So where do we draw the line? Focus on keywords, couple of words. Some things you're not aware of. For example, if you just focus on repetitive words, confidence, confidence, you know there's some link happening there, right? The phrase is, in C, you say you have fast losing confidence, and then the same reference is made in F, apart from the shrinking confidence, so you can connect it. So the strategies still remain the same. The only thing that we miss out in is we don't look for that, right? Apart from what I've put down, another thing, let me just quickly write it down here, right? Look for repetitive words in the context. Right? For you to be able to connect or link sentences. So you keep looking for repetitive words. That will also help you. Right? World's second biggest economy. Where is this reference made? The pretext is China. China is the world's second biggest economy. I mean, it differs. First is United States, and then you have the European Union, China, but otherwise, keywords start playing hide and seek in the exam, which makes it difficult. The hide and seek part can be kind of eliminated when you just start applying these strategies. See, the idea is first for you to be aware, okay, this is something that I need to look for when it comes to this question type. Second is, when I'm practicing, right, you won't have all of the strategies in every other connecting link, right? You may not have repetitive words to connect for every context. It's not plausible. So that is one of the strategies that you can apply. Yeah. But others, like we said, we continue to keep asking questions. We continue to focus on keywords and vocabulary, like domino effect. Understanding that particular phrase also helps me figure out the sequence, right? So the strategies pretty much remain the same. The only thing is we need to kind of practice more so we start applying those strategies and look at the question in a completely different light, where it doesn't become that complex or difficult, right? So the more you kind of read extensively, you're already getting familiar with the context, right? You come across even a finding error question for that matter. It's basically news headlines, right? So the more you read, the more aware you are of context, whether it's finding errors, close passage, jumbled sentence, reading comprehension, whatever it is. Keep in mind, to keep it current, right? The exams are always updating their difficulty level when it comes to questions. So the more in tune you are with current news, the more advantage you have in terms of attempting as many questions as possible. So I would suggest that you allot time specifically for that. Yeah, but otherwise, I hope this was a good session in terms of, just you becoming aware of certain things. Maybe you learned a couple of new concepts. Whatever it is, feel free to leave a comment and let us know what other question types that you would like for us to address. We'll be more than glad to take that up in our future sessions. You can still log on to our website, www.talentsprint.com/bank. Check out the offers. Feel free to enroll. And I will catch you guys in another session with another interesting topic. Take care.